Very, very good morning, Friday the 24th of February 2023. Who would have thought we would still be here after so much time? Okay, this morning's transmission is specific to the Coliseum. And what I wanted to go through was a few of the updates this week regarding the ongoing drama at the Coliseum. And unfortunately, and I'm really disappointed I have to share this with you, the way in which the people of our town are being manipulated, or attempts to manipulate them around the Coliseum, because the Coliseum, as I've been clear from the outset, resonates with many of us because of historical reasons. We all, for many of us, it was the first ever theatre we went to, it's the first ever theatre we took our children to, our grandchildren to, and so on and so on. And it's a 135-year-old building, maybe more, but there's things going on you need to know about. And of course, as I've always said, and I always continue to maintain, those of you who are new to me, is I don't tell you what to do. I present some information and my views and my perspectives, and I ask you to make your own mind up. I'm going to play this. This is Anna Jamieson, Radio 4, on the 15th, and she's interviewing, or she's speaking with a man called Chris Lawson. Chris Lawson is both the artistic director and chief executive of the Oldham Coliseum. Following the resignation of the last chief executive, the Coliseum has had 5 chief executives in the last 6 years. So I want to play this clip.
I guess really it's the kind of a similar story to 2 weeks ago, but it's kind of confirmation of where we're at, which is that we've entered a consultation period with staff of 30 days, which means that we're now with staff individually talking to all people and exploring what the options might look like, and giving the chance for staff to have their say and work with us. But generally, it's not looking good, it is the message. That no intervention has been made since 2 weeks ago, and our circumstances remain the same.
So is this the final curtain? There's no encore?
Well, I think, like with a lot of people in the arts, I'm not going to give up hope or give up a fight. And we've got a 30-day consultation period, and that's crucial, that's vital. And while ever there's an opportunity for us to find a way forward, then we will. But also, we kind of rely on other people and other organisations to be part of that as well.
Well, one of those organisations obviously is the Arts Council. You lost out to the funding. They've said that the application from the Oldham Coliseum just wasn't good enough. What went wrong?
Yeah, we took the feedback on board, and we've spoken to them about the application, and there were a number of factors in the application that they flagged. One of them was governance, one was leadership, and there was reference to financial management. I think the point that we're making is that within kind of 2 weeks of receiving the MPO decision, a number of changes had been made. The leadership had changed. I myself became CEO 8 weeks ago. There's a new interim chair of the board, and there's new financial support in place as well. So we kind of hear it, but we sort of go, essentially, I think the council, the Arts Council and the Coliseum all want the best for Oldham, and all want the right way forward. So we acknowledge the feedback that was given to us, but surely there's a way to ensure that the best way forward is achieved by working together.
Well, our listeners have been getting in touch on BBC Radio Manchester's Facebook page. Mandy says it beggars belief. It's tragic. Wayne has commented, unbelievable. Has seen many great things at the Coliseum over the years. John says it shouldn't happen, but people need to go to them. When was the last time anybody who actually commented actually went to see a show and pay for a ticket? And does it come back to that, like bums on seats? You know, without the support, our theatres, in this case, are in danger of closing.
I think there are a number of kind of mixed factors, and not one of them on their own is kind of a reason. Because then I look on Friday and Saturday just gone, and Friday night, there were 498 people in the Coliseum watching a show, and that was a tribute act. And then on Saturday there was Work for Family on, and there was 462 in the auditorium. So I kind of go, well, actually the Coliseum over the last since reopening from the pandemic, has actually had the bums on seats quite a good amount, and it's obviously a balance. Some things are busier than others, and it's about having something for everyone. And I think what can't be argued against is that the Coliseum pretty much does have something for everyone.
Okay, so that was the interview on the 15th on BBC Radio involving the new chief executive, and he raised 3 points. And it's important. It's very important because you're all being misled. Misled, manipulated. Nothing new in this town. The Arts Council raised 3 issues. As clearly stated by Chris, who's the interim chief exec or the new chief exec, I can't work it out. Governance, leadership, financial management. Governance is the trustees. 6 trustees of the Coliseum. They can have up to 50 members, focus groups, subcommittees, all of that. None of that exists. It was run like a cabal by a proxy of Oldham Council. So they had issues, the Arts Council had issues over governance. They also had issues over leadership, and that is the chief executive or the former chief executive and the senior leadership team at the Coliseum. And finally, they had issues over financial management. So that's the report, that's the use of money and the allocation of money, public money, your money, my money, Arts Council money. Now, the Coliseum is funded from 4 sources. Essentially, it's 4 sources. One is the Arts Council. The second one is Oldham Council. The third one is the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. And the fourth one is the revenue it generates from selling of tickets. And it just wasn't stacking up. Just wasn't stacking up whatsoever. And the Arts Council pulled the money. Now, the consequence of pulling the money has been this shift in narrative, this attempt to manipulate so many of you into believing that the Coliseum is closing, as in the Arts Council has withdrawn its funding. So that's why the Coliseum's closing. The Arts Council has withdrawn its money. The narrative has shifted that the Arts Council has withdrawn its money because of the building, and this building is no longer fit for purpose. Absolute nonsense. Now let me bring something else up. This is the Oldham Times article, and you can see it's from the 22nd of February, so it's from Tuesday. And it's regarding an event held at the Coliseum, and it says Oldhamers cram into Coliseum with battle cry to save it. And there's 10 photographs there. And I'll read the article. Hundreds of people packed into the Oldham Coliseum Theatre on Tuesday night with a plea to save it from a tragic, untimely end. Less than a week ago, the theatre announced that it may be forced to close its doors for good as of April, after its bid for funds from the Arts Council, amounting to £1.85 million over the next 3 years, was snubbed last November. See the word snubbed? Yeah, there's power in words. Following the devastating announcement, people from far and wide have joined the battle cry to save the Fairbottom Street Theatre, which has stood in Oldham for more than 135 years. So you can clearly see what the Oldham Times is alluding to there is the saving of the actual physical building, which has stood where it has for 135 years or more. So there's a manipulation going on, because that's not what this is really about and what equity have got involved in. And you can see Save Oldham Coliseum posters were handed out. The public meeting organised by the trade union Equity saw 400 Oldhamers cram into the Coliseum to hear from the impressive lineup of speakers and to demand answers from decision makers. However, it was soon established that the council and the Arts Council declined the opportunity to attend. Now, this is Olivia Bridge, who works for the Oldham Times. They're funded, they're supported by the council. They're the mouthpiece of the council. So Olivia Bridge is, first of all, omitting who from the council was invited and declined the opportunity. And of course, that is the leader, Amanda Chadington. An empty chair was left on stage to symbolise their absence, though Arts Council England said it didn't have a representative available and has offered to arrange a separate meeting. Arts Council England also said it does not give out detailed reasons in a public forum about why any organisation has not been funded. Okay, I want to pause just there. If you weren't being played, if you weren't being played. Barbara Bramridge and Sam Al-Hamdani, who are both trustees, both councillors, a Labour councillor, a Lib Dem councillor, who are both trustees of the Oldham Coliseum, two of only 6 trustees. Why are they refusing or failing to publish in full the response from the Arts Council? Because when you submit a bid to the Arts Council and the Arts Council say no, they will provide detailed reasons to the organisation that submitted the bid. You heard in that interview on Radio 4 how he gave very, he glossed over the governance, leadership and financial management issues and said, oh, but we've now sorted it. Since they've said no, we've now sorted it. Let's publish the Arts Council's rejection letter in full. If they were open and transparent, they would publish the entire letter in full. If they're open and transparent, they would also publish their entire bid in full. They can take the names out of people if they want, but they would publish the entire bid in full. So we, the people of Oldham, can see what it was that they exactly bid £1.85 million for, rather than being played the way we are. And you can see there's a picture there of the empty chair. The empty chair says Arts Council England. Why does that empty chair not say Oldham Council? Why does that empty chair not say Amanda Chadderton? I'll leave it to you to decide as to which side equity really are on. While their absence was keenly felt, the meeting pressed on without them, and many took to the stage to express what the theatre means to them. Zoe Iqbal, an actress, talked about its strong links with marginalised communities, particularly how it supports members of the Roma community, when she argued no one else would. She also said local children in the borough get the unique opportunity to perform on the Coliseum stage thanks to an inter-schools project. Zoe Iqbal did not tell us how many children get to perform on the Coliseum stage, how many children are involved in this inter-schools project, and how much the inter-schools project costs and who funds it. Zoe said, can you imagine how magical that would be? They absolutely love it, and now it's gone. So straight away, they are trying to shift focus away from the deficiencies within their own organisation to saying who will suffer as a consequence. And there's nothing in there to say, actually, those people who will suffer as a consequence, how much will they suffer? So we've got so far an inter-schools project. That's one. And the second one was something about supporting the Roma community. This isn't me manipulating. This is, you can see, I'm lifting this directly from the Oldham Times article by Olivia Bridge. That's like going up to Santa, so this is the analogy, punching him in the face, headbutting Rudolph and burning the toys. Actually, it's nothing like that at all. She also suggested private school children aren't the ones who miss out when local theatres are pulled. So they're trying to say, look at this, it's the working classes who are suffering. Art is not only for the privileged. I don't think anyone ever said art is only for the privileged, but they want to twist it. Zoe Iqbal wants to twist it and take the narrative there. Why do their kids deserve more than the kids around here? She added. What divisive language is that? Why do their kids deserve more? The simple truth here is the Arts Council has ring-fenced £1.85 million that it wants to work with Oldham Council to allocate to other arts projects in the town. And there is nothing anywhere I have read that suggests that this £1.85 million will be going to privileged children or their children. It's all these people know. It's what they're good at. So what they're trying to do is whip you all up. They're trying to whip you all up by saying the rich will benefit now. Their people will benefit rather than our people. And there's no critique from the Oldham Times. There never is. And there's Paul Hilton there from Equity UK standing at the front. Najma Khalid So they've had a woman with the surname Iqbal. Now they've got a woman with the surname Khalid. Najma Khalid, the founder and director of Oldham-based Women's Chai Project, which primarily works with South Asian women. So Chai Project, which works with Pakistani women or Bangladeshi women, that's what South Asian means, or Muslim women, also said the Coliseum had become a community hub for the women over the past 10 years. For Paul Hilton, a Chadderton-born and raised actor, the Coliseum stage is where he found his calling at 15 years old. I cannot bear to see this place go. What will happen to 15, 14 and 13-year-olds in the next 3 years if they don't have this space? So the fourth one, to be fair, and he's been ambiguous, but the fourth one is young people. Isn't it cultural vandalism to take it away from them? Cultural vandalism. Who's taking anything away? So one question I have, because we never got it out of the Coliseum, I'm afraid, from their annual reports, is the Interschools project. How much does it cost? And how many children does it benefit? Because they have not published the latest annual reports on their webpage. This is a multi-million-pound organisation, by the way. I think they're 2 years late. You know, the 2 years have annual reports behind, and the ones they publish don't provide this data. The Roma community, the Asian Women's Project, and the young people between 13 and 16. How many? How many and how? It's important. How many and how? Famous actress Maxine Peake, who recently spoke to the Oldham Times in an exclusive interview, said local theatres are the lifeblood of communities and how actors from Oldham gave her the inspiration to perform. Lovely words, Maxine, lovely words. Maxine also looked at the 400-strong crowd and said, I haven't seen theatres put on productions that have been this busy. We have got a massive fight on our hands, so we're going to have to get weaponized. We're going to have to get tanks. And we're going to have to take it to the front doors because this is not good enough. Now, can you imagine? Can you imagine how many police officers would be at my door if I had said, we're going to have to get weaponized, we're going to have to get tanks, and we're going to have to take it to the front doors? Can you imagine how many police officers would be at my front door? Suggested if Oldham's theatre falls, other places across the northwest could be next. Well, that's absolutely nonsense, isn't it? There's no context in that, because the reason why Oldham Coliseum had its funding pulled was governance, leadership and financial management. And if other theatres across the northwest had those issues, then the Arts Council would have to do that. And actually, the Arts Council has funded other organisations across the northwest. New ones. So there's no merit in that, Maxine. I know you're an actor. The artistic director and chief executive of the Coliseum, Chris Lawson, then stood to answer questions from the public and explain the chain of events. A said it rejected the Coliseum's application, having deemed it as high risk on factors ranging from its governance to its finances. But Chris queried both of these claims, saying the Coliseum weathered through the pandemic, all the while protecting jobs, and immediately opened post-lockdown with performances that were hitting targets. One of the biggest faults with what Chris Lawson has just said is if you refuse to accept the governance, the issues raised by the Arts Council, if you fail to accept the validity of those issues and hold your hands up and say, yes, those were issues, and you have already accepted them, because on the BBC Radio 4 interview, he said the governance had changed. There's been a new chair of governors, a new chair of trustees. He said he was the new leader, and something to do with financial management. He also made reference that they'd now had more money or something, or been committed some money from somewhere else. So if you're owning up to those things, why aren't you owning up to them here? Because they're playing you. Because they're playing you. The only thing that is deemed higher risk is no plan. Well, what's your plan? Instead of financially propping up the Coliseum, Arts Council England said it had invested far more than it has ever done in Oldham. It has ring-fenced £1.85 million, the same amount that would have been spent on the theatre, to go towards establishing a new arts and culture provision in the town. That isn't a building, by the way, so we're clear. Provision. On Tuesday, that means funding other projects. On Tuesday, the council also unveiled fresh plans for a £24 million theatre. That's a lie, and I'll get onto that on a Sunday. But Chris said Oldham would be void of culture in the next 3 years it takes to build, so this new building. Void of culture. As if our culture, what an arrogant statement. Void of culture. The Coliseum is a key anchor point in the community. But claiming if it goes, we would be void of culture is deeply disrespectful to a whole host of other organisations and groups across the town who enrich the culture in this town and have no links to the Coliseum. Meanwhile, Chris said he is also having to deal with the possibility of redundancies for 70 members of his staff, and submitted a fresh proposal just days ago that could enable the company to survive. Show us the proposal, Chris. Come on, you want our help? Show us the proposal. When asked about the transition funds the Arts Council had provided, a sum of £358,856 to support the theatre from March until October, Chris said the money can go one of two ways, either to transition to a completely different model, as he has proposed, or to winding up. Questions then came in thick and fast from members of the public who primarily voiced their dismay. I want to play Dave Arnott. He turned up. So the Conservative, and I'm not Conservative, but I am a fair man. And Dave Arnott turned up, and I want you to play.
His role as an executive, I'm here. I've council meetings to come here. There's nobody else there, is there? Right, okay, let's have a couple of things straight. I'll tell it like it is. You might not like it, but I'm going to tell it like it is. Okay, the problem here is the relationship between Arts Council England and the ruling authority on Oldham Council. That's where the problem is. No, it's not with the government. The same amount of money is being given by Arts Council England.
It's a political trick by your government. Let him speak.
Okay.
Let's speak briefly, and then I say...
The relationship between the two. Okay. And it's... I couldn't even scratch the surface to tell you where I think it's going. Okay, personally, do I think they should close this? Absolutely not. Personally, do I think you should get an injection of funding to try and cover some transition period, a decent injection of funding, whether it's from Oldham Council, whether it's from Greater Manchester Combined Authority, or whether it's from the government? Absolutely I do. Because honestly, I don't think Oldham needs a load of tinted glass and chrome. I think Oldham needs small, intimate, historical, family-friendly theatres like this. But I suggest that the plan, the longer-term plan, is always going to be to close down this venue. And I don't think it will go well. I think 2 weeks ago, the social media and the printed press was bombarded by photographs of our council leaders and MPs and whatever. Shock horror, they're going to close it. A fortnight later, we found £24 million down the back of the settee. Is that going to work? Probably not. So the battle, I feel, that you have is to keep hold of this until something viable is there as an alternative. Because the worst case scenario, the worst lose for this, is the Coliseum closes and the new theatre, whatever they're going to call it, presumably the Coliseum, doesn't go ahead. Or it's massively been delayed, like it has so many times before, at the cost of, last time, £3 million in consultancy fees. That's 5 years. A lot of funding.
Thank you.
Okay? So that's the battle. You've got to find some transition.
So they shut him down, but there you go. He managed to speak, okay? Hands off the Coliseum is the message. There's much more going on here than what you are being told. Equity is who hosted this meeting, by the way, so it wasn't a public meeting hosted by you or me or friends of the Coliseum or the council, it was Equity. Equity are a trade union. Join our movement. Be part of our movement, making the entertainment industry a better place to work for all. They want pay rises and all the rest of it. So that's what they are. They're a trade union. They are there to try and save their jobs. What's since happened is that Equity have contacted the 400 or so. They must have took the details of people. They must have took the details of people who attended. And they've emailed people. And this is the email that's gone out. And my friend Lee forwarded it to me. So you can see. Megaphone.org.uk, be heard at work. This is Equity. On Tuesday night, I was blown away. 400 of you turned up to save your Coliseum. Save your Coliseum. The strategy of feeling, the strength of feeling in the room was undeniable. Blah, blah, blah. Next steps. Can you turn up to the council's question time on Monday night? Oldham Council are holding a public question time on Monday at 6 p.m. That's not true. So that's not true at all. Oldham Council actually have a cabinet meeting on Monday night. And the public questions are to do with the cabinet. Minutes of the cabinet and stuff. Oldham Council are holding a public question time on Monday at 6 p.m. Questions are submitted in advance, which Equity has done today. But we need people in the room to show the council this issue isn't going away. What issue isn't going away? You losing your jobs? Will you take your Save Oldham Coliseum placard to the meeting on Monday night and show how much support the Coliseum has? If you need to pick up a new one, blah, 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 placards and leaflets will be available at the foyer of the Oldham Coliseum during opening hours. If we pack out their public gallery, the council will know they need to change their tune. So what is the council's tune that they need to change? The council are the governors. They provide the leadership. They own the building. You want money, don't you? You want the council to give these people money as transition money for what? You won't even publish what it is you want to do. This is the best bit. So they want you to go, but they're not coming. An Equity official won't be able to be there on the night. We're just asking you to exercise your right to attend the public gallery of your local council's meetings. There is nothing stopping an Equity official from being there. You're all being played. You're all being played because what's going on here is you want the Coliseum, the historic Coliseum building, to continue. I want the historic Coliseum building to continue, and I want all the paperwork published to demonstrate the risk assessments. All of that has been done. That has determined that Coliseum building needs to be demolished or is no longer fit for purpose, or can't be invested in and brought up to the standard it needs to be. No one's published that report. The council are scaremongering, saying it's past its life. Who are they to determine what's past its life? Where's the report? It's not DDA compliant. Well, actually, it doesn't need to be fully DDA compliant. They use the word fully DDA compliant. Introduce the word fully. But we know many disabled people have been using it for generations. I've even read somewhere of repeatedly of asbestos and arsenic in the wallpaper. It's complete nonsense. If the asbestos was in any way dangerous, they wouldn't allow children in there for pantomimes. Hundreds of children, thousands of our town's children. Can you imagine thousands of our town's children, 30,000 children every year going into the Coliseum if the asbestos was in any way dangerous? Of course not. What they're trying to do is force the council to give them money to keep their staff going, to keep them doing the things they want to do, which is these inter-school projects, these Roma community projects, supporting the Chai women, and whatever it is they do with young people who are 13 to 16. They won't say what they were going to exactly do with the money. They won't say what they've done with the money in the past. There is no accountability in the governance or the leadership of the Coliseum. And now, Equity, the trade union, are attempting to manipulate the town into supporting them by framing this as though they want to save the Coliseum. So if they want to save the Coliseum, I've yet to see any statement from Equity that clearly supports us in saying, we want this building saved. We want this building saved. And there's nothing from Equity that says that. And how many of you will turn up waving their equity banners to the cabinet meeting on Monday, being played. These jobs, some of these jobs need to go. 70 staff losing, subsidised by what, 60, 70, 75% of its income is probably subsidised. It can't continue whilst it funds niche projects that they have identified. First and foremost, this Coliseum has to serve the town in its widest capacity by putting on shows and events and cutting its cloth accordingly. And Chris Lawler and his team haven't done that. Barbara Brownridge and Sam Al-Hamdani are responsible for overseeing the demise of the Coliseum. And now we've got Equity, a bunch of fake liberal, out-of-town, middle-class, metropolitan elite coming in and exploiting all of you with the Save Our Oldham Coliseum. They don't want to save the Coliseum. They want to save their well-paid jobs. And there is a way through all of this, by the way. And the way through all of this is in May, when you all go out and vote for the independent candidates, because the independent candidates from across all parties are committed to saving the Coliseum building first and foremost, and secondly, putting together a governance structure and a theatre production company that runs it without in need of £1.5 million of public subsidies every year to support Roma projects and inter-school projects and women having chai. It's a joke, and you're all being played. Equity indeed. There's no equity in this. I look forward to seeing you all on Sunday. Please, if you find value in any of this work I do, at the very least, share, and if you can, support me by buying me a coffee. The links are in the text below the video. Without support, these transmissions can't continue. So, it's entirely up to you. Who's going to do this work for you? Who's going to analyse all of this and dissect the information in a way where you can make sense of it? It's not good. Take care. Bye.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.